Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today. Over the last couple of weeks, Bitcoin has just been in this consolidation pattern where we had a little bit of a scary move to the downside. However, after that, we just started trading back inside the range again, where we are still continuing to range. And a little update on this chart as well. Obviously, recently we got rejected on the daily time frame from this descending line of resistance. However, then found some support in this descending line of support. And also taking a look at the RSI momentum indicator, you can see that we are still above the trend line because ever since we reached 73K, we had this descending line of resistance on the RSI. However, a couple of days ago, we broke above it. And as of right now, we are still above that RSI. And so long as we hold above that, potentially we can start to see some more bullish momentum coming soon. In which case, if we do take a look back at this descending channel right here, potentially we could start to see the price trend back up again. And some key levels to watch would be this level right here at about 64.2K, then above that at 67,000 US dollars. And this is a very significant level that I will get to in a second, a little bit later in the video actually. But if we see the price break through both of those levels, then likely we'll head to the top of the range again, which would be roughly at 71,000 US dollars. Now taking a look at this symmetrical triangle pattern that we spotted a couple of days ago, and after getting a breakout to the downside, it actually confirmed a price target of 52,000 US dollars. However, as I have been saying, ever since I started showing this pattern, I am a little bit skeptical of this pattern right here. First of all, because it is a massive price target. And in my opinion, right now, 52K just seems a little bit crazy, especially because there is massive levels of support in between the current price and that 52K price target. But since it is in the chart, we must keep this level in mind because we have seen something like this before. As you know, if you have been watching my videos for a couple of weeks, because at that time I spotted a similar pattern at 67,000 US dollars with a price target of 58,000 US dollars. And that ended up playing out perfectly, reaching all the way down to 56K. So therefore, I do want to show you guys that this could be potentially one of the outcomes. But unless we really see some price action, either it trading back inside the range again, or if it gets rejected from this level and gets a fast move down, then we can take a look further into this pattern. But until then, it just looks a little bit far-fetched. Now moving on to the short-term levels of support and resistance for Bitcoin. Of course, we do still have this descending line of support at this moment, though in the case that we do trade below it, it will turn into a level of resistance. And besides that, currently Bitcoin is in a massive level of support from 62.4K all the way down to 60,000 US dollars. Though in the case that we do lose this level, then the next big level of support below that is from about 58K all the way down to 56.5K. But those levels don't have to be reached. For example, if we just see a bounce from here, like I said, we might get some short-term resistance at 63.4K and maybe a little bit of resistance right here. However, the next big level of resistance is sitting at 65K all the way up to 66,000 US dollars for the Bitcoin price. And a little bit earlier in the video, I mentioned this 67,000 US dollar level. So let's take a look at that now and why I think that is a significant level. So as you can see right here on the 1 month Bitcoin liquidation heat map, it is very clear to see that most of the liquidity is to the upside, with the biggest pocket of liquidity being roughly at 67,000 US dollars, 67.3K to be exact. And as you know, if you watch my videos regularly, typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there is most liquidity on this chart. So where there are the most yellow areas on this chart. So zooming back in on the short term, you can see that we just took out a big level of liquidity at about 61.6K. And as for the remaining liquidity right now, we have some liquidity to the upside and to the downside. First of all, at 63.8K to the upside, and more liquidity at 60.4K if we're talking about the liquidity to the downside. So the way you could see this play out in the chart is, for example, the price going to the bottom of this level of support again, where we take out that big level of liquidity, and then go up to above this price level right here, because then we would take out more liquidity to the upside. So that is potentially something to look out for. Though, of course, for now, especially since we are in a weekend, not much has really been happening. So before we can really see some fireworks, either to the upside or to the downside, I think at the very least we need to wait for the markets to start trading again, because usually during the weekends there is simply not a lot of volatility. Now taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, recently we got rejected from the 0.786 Fibonacci level at about $4,000 and then traded all the way down to the 0.5 Fibonacci level at about 2860. And staying on this daily time frame, you can see that Ethereum is forming this falling wedge pattern, which typically is more likely to break to the upside. But in my opinion, it is more important what Bitcoin does in the short term, because if we do see Bitcoin break to the downside, well, then I do think it's likely that Ethereum will just go along with it. And that's also why I'm not really taking this too seriously. Either way, if you do want to see a reversal in the Ethereum price to the upside, then at the very least you would want to see the price break through this descending line of resistance, because that could potentially be a signal for you that the price is ready to reverse to the upside and make a move higher. The one warning signal we are seeing for Ethereum right now on the 1 hour time frame is this bear flag pattern, which is usually more likely to break to the downside. And in the case that it does break to the downside, the confirmed price target would roughly be 2760, sending it all the way to the bottom of this falling wedge pattern. So now taking a look at these short-term support and resistance levels for ETH, you can see that right now we are just trading inside this big level of support, which is sitting from $3,000 all the way down to 2850, with this 0.5 Fibonacci level also corresponding to that. But in the case that we do get that move to the downside, then the next big level of support is from about 2710 all the way down to 2600. Although at the same time, before I continue here, we do have this descending line of support, which is, as of right now, sitting at about 2750, but of course continually also goes to the downside. That's about it for the bearish scenarios though, because in the case that we do just trade higher from here, well, we might face some short-term resistance right here at about $3,050. However, in the case that we do trade higher than that, the next big level of resistance above that is from about 3150 up to 3250 for the price of Ethereum. Moving on to Solana, which also got rejected from the 0.786 Fibonacci level and also traded all the way to the 0.5 level, which corresponds to about $133. Though it did get a bit of a bounce from there. So let's take a look at the short-term support and resistance levels for Solana. So zooming in on the 1 hour time frame, you can see that we got exactly what I talked about in yesterday's video. I mentioned this bullish divergence right here, which is when you have lower lows in the price and higher lows in the RSI momentum indicator. And as I said then, typically you would see a break from all of the bearish price action and instead would either get some choppy sideways price action or a little bit of bullish momentum. So here you can see we got a bit of bullish momentum and now we are just chopping around sideways. And since the bullish divergence on the 1 hour time frame typically only plays out over usually 1 day or so, I do think we have seen the most of this bullish divergence for now. Either way, taking a look at the short-term support and resistance levels, currently Solana is in a big level of support from about $150 down to $140. But in the case that we lose that level, the next big level of support below that is from $133 down to $124. And in the case that you do see the price trade higher, we might face some short-term resistance at about $155. And then above that, some more short-term resistance at about $160. However, if we do get that big push to the upside, the next big level of resistance is from about $166 up to $171 for the price of Solana. This has been today's market update video. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.